Thank you, Honourable Chair. First of all, I must congratulate the Women's Caucus, Honourable Sudashini Fernando Pulle, Honourable Taratatu Korala, and yourself, Madam, for initiating this Women's Empowerment Bill. This has been coming for a long period of time, and I'm glad that it is finally going to be made law in this country. I just want to pick one section in this piece of legislation, Madam, and that is equal access in terms of menstrual products for young women, particularly school children. You know, there is a concept called horizontal inequality. Horizontal inequality means that if you belong to a particular group, then by actions of government, I'm talking in this case in terms of public finance and in terms of budgetary allocations, in terms of what government spends on public goods. If you don't have adequate access, or if you don't have equal access to services, then one can classify that situation as being horizontally unequal or horizontal inequity. Because we have been hearing in this parliament throughout the day today that women, even though are comprise 52% of our population, only 5% of the members in this house are women, including you, Honourable Rohini Kaviratna. So when a matter is being discussed here, obviously you have little bargaining power. Men always have their way. And in terms of gender equal budgeting, I must say that the Women's Caucus has been pushing this agenda since 2020, since this parliament was established. And in that caucus, supported also by, I must mention, the NDI, the Westminster Foundation for Democracy, Advocata Institute, Centre for Poverty Analysis, Verite Research, and others that came to your parliamentary caucus on multiple occasions, have been talking about and making aware, particularly the male members, about the need to address this issue of period poverty. Now, it is well known that more than 50% of women in this country, Madam, are not available or are not able to spend adequate amounts of resources monthly for menstrual products. And what this means is that many young girls who go to school otherwise stay at home because they don't have access to these products. Now, as a father, I know this. My daughter always tells me, Tata, you don't understand what it means to be a woman. You don't bleed. I say, okay, this is a conversation that I've had with my daughter ever since, about the age of 11 or 12. And over the years, I've come to realize that the girls have, like Iran earlier said, you don't choose to be a man or a woman, right? And in this situation, the access, the lack of access has become a huge problem to some in this society. While I articulate once again the issue that I made earlier, in that there is horizontal inequality across the gender. So if you're a woman, you are subjected to this horizontal inequality. Within women, within the gender, right? Within women, some people who are wealthy will not have a problem, but those who are not do have a problem. So, in fact, I am trying to also speak to my daughter and all daughters of all fathers in this country that this parliament is finally trying to address this issue. And I want to tell my daughter that I haven't failed her, and I haven't failed the millions of other children. Now, while it is a fact that my daughter is not going to avail herself of a subsidy provided by the state to anyone who wishes to avail themselves to this subsidy, it is finally actually happening. Now that the Honorable Minister of Education is also approaching, I must bring to his attention that the first proposal that was made to the House and tabled in this chamber to consider providing vouchers for menstruating school children to be decided upon by them and their parents whether they want to avail themselves for that voucher or not. On the condition of that, we proposed a certain budget. We said, look, this is what it will cost the government to ensure that every school-going young woman would be able to overcome what is called period poverty, because the government, because this parliament, by far controlled by men, have taken the decision to consider the plight of those young women. So therefore, we, the Committee on Public Finance, my colleague Honorable Raghavan is also here, we propose to this House that a voucher be provided. The original estimate was about 11 billion rupees based on the calculations we had made. Now subsequently, after many discussions with in the Committee of Public Finance and in the Women's Caucus with the Honorable Minister of Education staff, the Minister of Defence, the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Minister of Education has allocated 1 billion rupees starting this week to provide vouchers for 800,000 school-going women. I applaud you, sir. This is something that had to have happened long years back, but it is finally happening. Now there are some issues that I want to raise here, because the UNICEF and others have calculated that the average period length is about 4.5 days, and number of pads per day is 4, and that means total number of pads per cycle is about 18. And if you go with an average pad price, then it becomes the average pad price is about 18 rupees and 75 cents. Now, I looked at the calculation you have made, 150 rupees for a packet of sanitary napkins. Now I went on the internet to see what you can buy for 150 rupees. We understand only 4% is imported, 96% is made locally. One company owns 76%, the other company has market share of 20%. So if you look at the average prices, it goes from, so let me read, I don't want to read the brand names, but the starting lowest is 10 pack 219. Then another one 315, another one 439, another one 300, another one 425, another one 420, another one 300, another one 425, etc. So when you allocate 150 rupees, I looked at it, there is one particular brand for 150 rupees that is only 8 pads. Now 8 pads is not enough. According to the health professionals, sir, you need 15 or 16 pads, which means you have to give at least 337 rupees and 50 cents per child per month. So if you calculate that amount, Honorable Sir, you will find that you need 4 billion rupees per year. Now assuming there are 1,234,651 young women in school going age between grade 6 and 13, you need to provide right? 4 billion rupees for this project. Now assuming that there is only 6 months, there are only 6 more months remaining in this year, you have to provide half that amount. So which means you can do the calculation, it will come to about 5 billion rupees. You are allocated 1 billion rupees. And if it is 6 months, 2.5 billion, you have allocated 1 billion, you are short 1.5 billion. You're short 1.5 billion. Now, suppose you're only going to give to 800,000 kids as opposed to 1.2 million kids, then you're short about 620 million rupees. My point is, don't start it by just giving everybody, 800,000 kids. You are saying you're going to rural areas and you're going to very difficult schools. But my suggestion is this, there are school-going kids in my area, in Kotte, in Obesekarapura, in Bandaranayakapura, who cannot afford. So it doesn't have to be rural. It doesn't have to be really remote. It can be in the city. It can be in Colombo 5. It can be in Matakulya. So what I'm saying is, don't do it like that. My proposal is give a voucher with and the parents and the school teacher can make that decision. You can say, here is a letter, you can take it to your mother or father. They can say, yes, we want the voucher. If they want the voucher, give them the voucher. If you're only having 1.2 million kids, let us say only 50% of those kids are in period poverty, you're only going to need 600,000, right? So let the mother decide. You don't decide, sir. You don't decide. Let the mother decide. Let the child decide. So that way it is a fairer, equitable distribution of these pads as opposed to the minister or the chairman of the committee or somebody else decides. So therefore my point is, let's do this in the right way, because let us not fail. Let us not fail. Because if you start giving this and it is not enough, then you will be disappointed with this whole program. If you are disappointed with the whole program, then it will fail. It is better to give it to a smaller number of people with adequate number of pads per month. And 8 pads per month is not enough. I know as a father, 8 pads a month is not enough. And I have no problems in talking about this. One minute, I'll finish. I have no problem in talking about this. My daughter, before you were here, told me, Tata, you don't know about menstruating. You don't know. You try going through it. So I know. So therefore, my submission to you is, while we are happy, and I understand that the launch is happening in my own electorate at the Javardhanapura also President School, Girls President School. Unfortunately, even though I am the person who submitted the proposal in this house, I am not invited. But that's okay. It doesn't matter as long as the project goes through. I congratulate you and I encourage you. Sorry?
Join them.
I don't need to join the women. How can I? I'm not a woman. I'm a man. I'm not a woman. I'm a man. That is why they are inviting only women. Why? I am the one who fought for this. I fought for this.
Yeah.
I fought for this, and I will continue to fight for this. I will improve this in the future. I will certainly improve this in the future, because in the next 6 months we will take office. And our leader, Honorable Sajith Premadasa, is the one who talked about this in 2019. When all of you all, I'm not saying you, sir, but many of you all laughed. Many women laughed. Some actresses, so-called actresses, came on television and they laughed. They called Sajith Premadasa Padman. Right? They call him Padman. There is no problem in being called Padman. We are proud that he was called Padman, because it was his idea that you all are finally implementing, right? So therefore, let us celebrate this. Let us celebrate this bill which you are really responsible for bringing, madam. One last point I want to mention here. He says 51.6% taxes, effective taxes on these things, right? Even though only 4% is imported, you bring the raw material, right? The raw material becomes is taxable. So, and if you look at the numbers of the Committee on Public Finance, you will see you brought in a minuscule amount you collected in taxes by taxing the raw material for sanitary napkins. Give it up. Let us get rid of the 51.6% effective tax on the I'll tell you, madam, on the raw material, because you will
Please
only
wind up, Honorable Minister.
I will in 1 minute. It's only 37 million. According to the Finance Ministry, only 37 million was collected by doing this. So what's the point? And one last point I was going to stop with is, there also maybe you need to consider this, what are called reusable fabric sanitary napkins. It is being championed by no less a person than Celine Pires in the Bleed Good Foundation, and we all participated in that presentation. So there probably are other ways, other alternatives instead of the disposables, that you can also look at reusable fabric menstrual products. So in conclusion, while we are happy, right, like I said, I'm happy for my daughter and all daughters in this country that their fathers are standing up today supporting the Women's Empowerment Bill, right? And it is a proud day for me and all fathers here. And let us hope that this is only a start, that we will build on this, and we will ensure that there is a day that there need not be a discussion on women's empowerment anymore, because every woman in this country will be empowered. Thank you very much.
Thank you.